week at a panel on women's fundamental rights, Hillary Clinton sat on stage, and the first speaker introduced to address women's rights was Sarah McBride, a male.
Immense grace in the face of attacks even from your fellow members of Congress.
Well, thank you so much for those incredibly kind words. It's an honor to be here with you, Secretary Clinton. It's an honor to be here with this anti-trans effort, not only out of proximity, but out of intentionality, will include consequences for women of all backgrounds. Because at the end of the day, transphobia, homophobia, misogyny, and sexism are all rooted in the same prejudice. The belief that one perception at birth should dictate who you are, how you act, what you do, who you love, and how you dress. And it's why threats toward trans people are threats toward all women. Because when
a male telling women that our rights are interconnected with his at a conference about women's rights, the opening voice redefining womanhood was not female. That matters because if we cannot clearly define what a woman is, we cannot clearly defend women's rights. And when a male stands up at a women's rights panel or sits down at a women's rights panel and reframes sex-based protections as prejudice, we need to examine that argument carefully. So let's address it directly. We're being told by him that misogyny and transphobia are rooted in the same prejudice, and therefore threats towards trans people are threats towards all women. That sounds compassionate, but it collapses under scrutiny. Misogyny is discrimination against females because we are female. Women's rights were built around sex because sex matters materially. It matters in sports, it matters in prisons, it matters in shelters, it matters in medical care. These protections were not created because of clothing identity or self-expression, okay? They were created because male bodies and female bodies are not the same. Calling sex-based boundaries prejudice is a rhetorical move. It reframes women defending female-only spaces as discrimination. That's not equality. What that is silencing. Now, let's talk about the phrase that he used. Perception at birth should not dictate who you are. This is not about perception. This is about biology. Women's prisons were not created because of stereotypes. They exist because males commit the overwhelming majority of violent and sexual crimes. Women's sports were not created because of bias. They exist because male puberty creates measurable physical advantages. Male advantage is present even prior to puberty, just to a lesser degree. This is not hatred. This policy is grounded in physical reality. Then comes the dignity argument. We're told that denying access to women's spaces violates dignity. No. Nope. Dignity means freedom from harassment, discrimination, and violence. It does not mean entitlement to enter female-only spaces. Women's dignity includes not being forced to undress with males' presence. Women's dignity includes not being housed with male offenders. Women's dignity includes fair competition. Self-identification is not simply about respect. It is about legal power. Power for any male to declare himself a woman and gain access to sex-based protections. And when the only requirement is saying the words woman, becomes an unenforceable category. A right you cannot enforce is not a right, is it? You can oppose harassment. You can support equal treatment without erasing women as a sex class. This is very important. Rights can conflict, and when they do, you do not resolve that conflict by dissolving the definition of woman. If we're going to talk about women's fundamental rights, the name of the panel, we must start with clarity. A woman is an adult human female. Without that foundation, there are no sex-based rights to defend. That's not cruelty. That is coherence. And women deserve coherence.